although I do have a teacher, I've been jumping from one teaching to another, and it's kind of been unpicking my foundations of the teaching that I had. I'm sometimes waking up in the morning feeling like I've forgotten my initial teachings, or it's all scrambled up. I haven't really been getting anywhere. I've had the experience of no self, but I don't experience the world as being a complete illusion, or I don't experience certain things which I hear certain teachers say. Would you like to say anything on that?
Yeah, sure, good.
I just feel a little stuck. Suffering it's not totally gone, but it's certainly diminished. But I do get caught in this trap of looking for other people's experiences and expecting them to come about. And because you don't have a teacher with you 24/7, it can be a little confusing, especially if you go on to another teacher which you don't know so well, and then you hear something completely different from them.
And I think most people on the call can probably understand where you're coming from to a greater or lesser extent, because it's just bewildering sometimes how, one teacher says one thing, another teacher says another thing. And what's worse is that the same teacher can say one thing one time and a different thing the other time. I know I do that. Mm-hmm. You find me, one time I'll say something and the next time I'll say something that seems completely different. I'll talk about the world being an illusion. Then I'll say, that's just rubbish, and, all over the place, because the teachings for me emerge from the moment, emerge from an interaction. So what I'm saying is a response to what you've said, Sean. So what I'm saying now is for you in a way. And if someone else asked a question, it might bring out a different response from me.
Yeah.
Because your question creates the response. Mm-hmm. So you are creating the teaching.
Yeah.
And it's too bad that you don't have a teacher with you 24/7, eh?
Right? Well, you have the inner guide.
Exactly. You kind of got my irony there.
Yeah.
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 People like me, we're superficialities.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? I'm what you could call an external teacher.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're just part of the chaos. We will help you a little bit here and there, and we'll confuse you as well. Okay? It's inevitable. You can't rely on an external teacher.
Mm-hmm.
You can initially, and you can sometimes to quite a great extent, depending on what your relationship with that teacher is like. So it can be very, very powerful indeed. So this is really about facilitating a self-knowing. And the teacher, I've realized, is very important for that, actually. Because usually without that guidance, it's very difficult for you to see things in yourself. As you gain more insight into yourself,
yes,
you gain more insight into other people, because we're all fundamentally one. And we all fundamentally work in a similar way. It's like anything. Like if you get better at playing tennis, you'll notice the flaws in other people's tennis game. Mm-hmm. Because you'll realize, oh yeah, they're not bending their elbow in the right way. Oh, they put their feet in the wrong position. And someone else might think, wow, you're amazing. You're psychic. How do you know all these things? Well, it's just because, you've studied the game. And again, I often say this, I do get these things wrong sometimes. Yeah. So I'll just go for it as I usually do. But I think the essential mistake you're making is that you're approaching this too much from the head. You're thinking about what should I do too much.
Yeah, that's
my
true.
sense is you need to make space now. Thinking about things, reading things, listening to the verbal teachings is very useful. Don't get me wrong, and it helps a lot. And most of us here probably benefited from verbal teachings, whether that's hearing teachings, listening to teachings, or reading teachings. The words that make up the teaching, and the expressions. But there comes a time where we need to make space in our life, and we need to sit and observe and listen. We need to make space in our lives and sit, observe, and listen. And we need to ask ourselves very simple, fundamental questions, because otherwise it gets too complicated. Simple questions. A very simple question could be, you've been seeking for 10 years, you've made a lot of progress, you've had lots of cool experiences, you've jived with a lot of amazing teachers, and now you're getting confused again. Okay, so you've been round the block a few times. You sit down, you say, okay, back to basics. I'm going to make some time and space. I'm going to listen, and I'm going to ask a question. What am I looking for? There you go. That's a very basic question, isn't it?
Yeah.
What do I want? What do I actually want? I want enlightenment. I want liberation. I want this. No. Really simple. Throw away all the jargon. Throw away all the sort of technical spiritual language. What am I looking for? What do I want? Okay, when you get your answer, you can then, instead of saying, okay, I know what I want now, I'm going to try and find it. No. That's not what we do. What you can do now is you can say, you question the question. What do? You question the question. You say, why? Why do I want that? So now, instead of having an avenue, an aim, and going forward like we normally would in life, oh, I want a car. I'm going to buy a car. I'm going to save money. I'm going to work, and I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, and I can get a car, right? Now we're going backwards into ourselves. We're saying, why do I want that car? What is it about my present state? What is it about my life that is not good, that makes me want something else? So you need to get back to basics and get back to silence and raw experience, and not worry about what Tom says or what another teacher says too much for now, because you've done that, haven't you, Sean?
Yeah, yes.
You've done that. That is all the head stuff. That helps.
Even what you say just now, it seems to be really resonating, and just it's like I want to hear this.
Good, because that's what these satsangs are for.
Yeah.
And we're not meant to do satsang all the time. You need time away from satsang.
Yeah.
So you can figure things out for yourself.
Sorry. So I know there's not really practices.
For me, they're definitely, I mean, what I've described is a practice, actually.
Yeah.
That's what you would call, in your language, a prescription.
Mm-hmm.
It's something to do.
Okay. I've heard quite a lot of people say, return as often as you can to present awareness or thoughtless presence.
Yeah, that's what I said that at the beginning. Why should you bother doing that, though?
I don't know. It's almost, you get the feeling that they're saying that by doing that, a thoughtless state will stick and there'll be no intrusive thoughts whatsoever. But in my experience, these thoughts no longer bother me. They just come up and then they go. So I'm a little confused as to whether do they need to go completely?
What are you looking for?
Just happiness.
So then you tell me the answer. And the answer isn't necessarily something you can tell me now. You might have to go away and sit down.
Yeah.
What am I looking for? Because, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what anyone else says. It doesn't matter if like Tom or anyone else says you need to do this, you need to do that. What are you looking for? What do you want? So if somebody else down the road is driving a Ferrari,
yeah,
and I've got a Ford Fiesta, what do I want? Do I want the Ferrari? Or am I happy with my Ford Fiesta? Or maybe I want something else completely different. Maybe I don't want a car anymore. Maybe I want a bike.
Okay.
So what do you want? You see? What do you want in your heart? In the depth of your heart, what are you looking for?
Yeah.
What are you looking for? And then you can say to yourself, will X, Y, or Z help me get towards what I'm looking for?
It's the fear of missing out, I guess, and going down the wrong route. And I know I'm back in my head again. How does one then bring it to the heart? I mean,
how does one bring it to the heart? You make space.
Mm-hmm.
You sit by yourself and you listen. Okay?
Okay. And
when a question comes up, like, oh, I don't know what to do, I don't know, I'm confused, or whatever, you say, okay. What is, and you look at whatever's arising, And rather than saying, oh, I'm confused, I don't know what to do, I don't know whether to go left or right, I don't know whether to go up or down, do I do this? I'm afraid I'm going to miss out. FOMO, right? Fear of missing out. FOMO. You can say, okay, I'm confused, I'm troubled. What's going on here? And have a look. Well, what is this confusion? What is the fundamental aspect of it? What are the fundamentals of this confusion? Where is it coming from? What am I afraid of? And then go into it. Why are you afraid? Why are you afraid of missing that thing that's around the corner that you can't see, that someone else might have? What's driving that fear? Where's that coming from?
It must be coming from the ego, from the...
Well, the answers, the ego always gives you a verbal answer.
Yeah.
Yeah? The ego always gives you a verbal answer. We want to come into the feeling level where then the answers are verbal, but they're also felt. Because then it's a genuine thing. Otherwise, we get in the trap of thought. We just get caught up in the thought. Coming to the heart, you've got to come to a level of feeling and experience. It has to become foremost.
I guess when I first started the path, I really stumbled upon all this really in a very strange, chaotic way. And I started watching satsangs and I really didn't know what they were talking about. And eventually I picked up the talk, and slowly I was getting understandings, and then I was trying to, look for signs of development, and I'd be watching different teachers, which probably wasn't best helpful, but still it gave me more substance to work with.
It depends on who you are. I mean, I often recommend that people who come to my meetings get other teachers, because I found that some teachers taught me one thing and other teachers taught me another thing. Yeah. I certainly don't think that Tom Das has got necessarily all the best teachings in all the best areas. So I think, if you are attracted to just one teacher and that's all you want, then just do that. But if something's attracting you to different teachers and different teachings, then do that.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that, in my view. I don't think there's any. I know some teachers say you shouldn't do that, and I can see the truth in that, or the utility of that. But sometimes it's useful to dabble a little bit. But the key thing is that you're clear in your own mind and heart what's happening for you. So I recommended, Sean, that you sit, you relax, you make space, and you listen. And you take your time to be with whatever's happening. Now, what's one piece of very, very useful information? You've probably all heard it 100 times before. The simple teaching it's very powerful, is that which comes can also go. That which comes your way can also go away. So anything new that you acquire is not it. If we're looking for a cessation of suffering that's permanent, and not just for 5 seconds, 5 minutes, 5 hours, 5 days, 5 weeks, 5 years, not just temporary, either short-term temporary or long-term temporary. We want something that's lasting peace that we can abide in, let's say. The end of suffering. Not just the end of suffering for now. Because that's if suffering only ends for a short amount of time, that's still suffering. Because you're worried about what's going to happen in 5 minutes' time. You're thinking, oh, I feel okay now, but what's going to happen tomorrow? What's going to happen the day after? And what happens if I feel great now, I'm in this ecstatic state of bliss, which has come my way. But what if I lose it tomorrow?
Yeah.
So whatever comes your way can also go away. So you have to realize many of you have heard this teaching before, but you've got to realize it in your bones deeply. You've got to contemplate upon it up until it you're convinced of its truth, and that truth guides your every action, which is that enlightenment, liberation, is not to be found in objects. It's not to be found in phenomena. It's not to be found in things, subtle things or gross things. Subtle things such as emotions and feelings and experiences, and not in gross things such as tables and chairs and meditation cushions and physical postures. Not that these things are not useful. These things all have their use provisionally. They all have a limited use, just like this meeting has a limited use. But none of these things are the core of what you are. None of these things are enlightening by themselves. What you are looking for, if anything exists that is eternal peace, it must already be here now, fully. So when you're looking for that extra thing that you still haven't got yet, remember, if you do achieve it, say you go around that corner and you find what you are afraid of missing out on, and you find it, realize that's just a new jewel that you've added to your collection of spiritual jewels. It's essentially superficial. You've got your little sack of jewels, and you can every teacher, you can take a little gem and put it in your little pouch and say, oh, I've got another gem now from that teacher, and I go read another book, and you can pick a jewel from there and you can put that in your pouch. Now you've got a whole collection of spiritual teachings here, and they can be useful to you. It can alleviate suffering. It can, when you feel sad, you can look inside your pouch of jewels and you can think, oh, I feel happy now. And that's nice, isn't it? And it can free you up and it can help you. But ultimately, this is not liberation. This is actually a more subtle form of Maya. It's still ignorance. It's still suffering. We're still within the realm of suffering. We're just suffering less now. It's all degrees of magnitude.
Yeah.
With Maya, it's all like more suffering, less suffering. Less suffering is better than more suffering. Of course, if I could choose for anyone, any of you here, less suffering or more suffering, I'd choose less suffering. We'd all choose that for ourselves too, and our loved ones and everyone. But less suffering is still suffering, and it's still Maya. It's still ignorance and illusion. It's not liberation. So if you can suffer less, do it. But don't think that enlightenment comes from objects, meaning anything that you perceive is what I call an object. Whether it's happiness, happiness is an object. A transcendental experience of bliss or oneness, that's an object. They're not going to liberate you. Now, when you follow this through and through, and you start to realize this, what happens is your mind starts letting go. You realize, oh, this object's coming. Let it come, let it go, because that's not going to liberate me. And then a lovely experience comes your way. Oh, it's a lovely experience. You let it come, you let it go, because it's not liberating. You might feel nice, and you accept nice things. And this teaching comes by you, and teacher sounds great. You let it come, you let it go. So you go to satsang one day, and it feels great. You let it come and let it go. And now you're learning and you're listening. And you're finding a deeper truth. You'll realize suddenly you start feeling happier. And so as you let go of all your thoughts and all objects, I should say, what happens is that when you're by yourself and there's not much to do, you're not thinking about anything. Or you're thinking about very little, because you're not worried about tomorrow, and you're not worried about this and that, because you're letting things come and go. And you start to intuit a divine order and harmony in things. You can't put this into words. No one can teach it to you. And maybe many of you have felt it already. Some people call it faith. Some people call it God's presence. But you feel there's God's presence in your life and everything's okay. And things come and things go, and it's all good. And if you take the opportunity to now sit and relax, you'll find your mind just attains stillness much more quickly, because you're not interested in gaining things. You're not interested in looking for things. Why? Not because you're forcing your mind to become still, but because you understand there's no lasting fulfillment. There's no lasting fulfillment in any phenomena or in any object, any experience. And this leads to deep stillness. This is meditation. And this, as this stillness deepens and takes us over, now thought that before, egoic thought before was our Lord, it was our king, it was controlling us. Now the stillness and the silence becomes king. It always was king. It's our true self. It always was in control, as it were. Now the stillness takes over. It's a different current. Needless to say, you can't put it into words, the current of stillness. You stop looking for happiness in an experience or an object or a teaching, anything that you can experience. The mind becomes very steady and calm. This is now, when it becomes very calm, it's called samadhi. Samadhi is when the mind naturally just becomes very, very settled and calm and thought-free. This is the true teacher. This is the guru that's with us 24/7. This is the bliss and peace and happiness that eternally lie within and are always full and complete. This is the energy that obliterates egotism effortlessly. We just have to allow it. The mind doesn't want to allow it because it's too busy trying to get things. It's grasping. So I want this, I want this. I want that one, I want that one. If anyone's seen Little Britain, a lot of this teaching is just facilitating you guys to have trust in your own knowing. Not to lean on what some self-appointed guru like myself is saying, because we could be bonkers. We really could. We could be saying all this stuff. We could be completely self-delusional. There are a lot of people out there who are highly intelligent and self-delusional and think crazy things. There are a lot of highly intelligent people that think crazy shit. Yeah. And I mean, many of you have got to know me over time. And so it's different because when you get to know someone, you get a sense of who they are. And with that, you can trust can develop. There's a relationship there.